Hello everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel. I hope you are enjoying the videos. For more insight on HR practices and real corporate world exposure, please subscribe to our channel, like the video and do share it with others. Also, please press the bell icon to never miss an update from HR Success Talk. Thanks a lot. Enjoy this video.
Hi guys, today's presentation we'll go through the HR business partnering maturity model in a little detail. Of course, the time constraint being given for us, we'll try to quickly cover the basics or the large and more value adding and value impacting areas in the HR business space. But before that, just to set a quick context to why do we call it maturity models, what could be one or two of the people capability or HR capability maturity models, and for that we'll pick the people CMM model, quickly run through it, and then get into the HR business partner maturity model in the current state and how and what are the future expectations from HR business partners from a maturity of the function, expertise of the vertical, value adding parameters, different ways to look at how HR can strategically and very, very quantitatively be called as a business partner. So quickly, typically how maturity models are looked at, how they are defined, how they are scientifically taken ahead, both in terms of qualitative and quantitative output of a model. So from a very basic step where things or processes are half-baked, tasks are without outcomes, there are no clear goals, right? Is the very basic initial level, which then formally moves into a more managed level where you have basic structures, basic table in place, for example, to fill in data. However, still, they are very, very reactive in nature. Right? Only in the third phase where you get into a defined mode where you actually set goals, you actually set deadlines, you set benchmarks where you want to reach, do a gap analysis, and then move ahead with into the roadmap. That's why it is called define, where you define your destination already, and then accordingly create a roadmap or a strategic KPI scorecard. Different companies call it different ways, and then start operating in that in your respective domain. Now it could be people capability maturity model from an HR perspective, it could be customer management from a CRM perspective, it could be sales maturity models from a sales organization perspective. Largely the trajectory remains the same. In the fourth level, you get into high level and detailed actually quantitative measurement of your goals and KPIs that you have set. In the fifth level, where you see optimizing, essentially what happens is between 4 and 5, essentially right now, as we speak, as we hear big data, machine learning, algorithm based analytics, this is where largely that happens, where you have enough critical mass and data to start analyzing things. One. Second is the analysis itself gives you further inputs into how to look at the same data differently, or different data can merge together to get you a new result, right? So that's where the optimizing phase begins, and then of course it's a self-improvement, self-learning model. The machine learning is called machine learning because the machine starts learning and starts giving you insights which you may not be even aware of. It may be subconsciously you may know about it, but you're not focusing on it. The data, your data itself starts throwing interesting outcomes to you. So that's typically how maturity models work. So in the HR space, if you ask me, and again, if you see on the left pillar, initial, managed, defined, predictable, optimizing, which essentially largely means from a very basic hygiene level process activities, you get into managed processes where you start saying that, okay, we have a training and development policy, we have clear communication standards, our compensation philosophy is in place, and we do have basic pay structures and pay ranges in which we pay, right? And we have a hiring and a recruitment tracker, for example. The defined level of HR or people process would be training becomes your competency development, where you clearly start saying for this role, these are the functional skills that are required and these are the behavioral competencies that X person needs to exhibit to perform this job better. Everyone can do that job, right? How can X do something, the same thing better than Y is if he or she holds certain behavioral competencies, right? The softer side of human beings, as they call it. And then, of course, you start looking at competency analysis, how to do gap analysis, figure out roadmaps, career planning, succession planning, right? Those are a more defined way of working. How will you get more predictable in nature is if you have enough data to show you that if you take this path, you will reach 3.3. If you take the middle path, you'll probably reach 3.6. If you take the right path from a data trend perspective, which is basically worst case scenario, best case scenario, and the most optimum scenario, as it's called, then what are the possible outcomes expected in each and every step? That's how, or each and every process, that's how predictability increases. The more data you have, the more insights you get. That's where you start becoming more and more predictable in nature. So, for example, what is predictive attrition analysis, right? Flight risk, as they say. How will you get there? Only when you have enough data with you of all the employees in your company with the past education, family background, performance ratings, increments, promotions, right? And then you say, because in the past 3 years, people with X profile have left us sooner versus Y profile who have stayed back because we have done XYZ things for them. Let's replicate that and do the same thing for others to increase our retention percentage, right? So that's the predictability now. And optimization, of course, as I said, the more data you have and the more different ways that you look at the same data, it will start giving you interesting results, right? For example, HR person with 10, 12 years of experience in the labor law or IR can actually become your compliance officer or your legal officer if you help him or her, get a certification, for example. But for that, you need prior data saying that, or a trend showing that this person is capable of doing that, right? But how will you do that? The data resides already. If you have a HRMS or HRIS in your company, the data resides. You are not looking at it in the most appropriate way. Right? So optimizing or somewhere between predictable and optimizing is the best journey where you predict certain things that basis last 3 years trends. If all the assumptions and terms and conditions remain the same, we'll have similar results. But if we want to improve, then these are certain extra data points that can be added, will smoothen your journey as well as improve the people experience of the organization, right? Now, from an HR business partner's maturity model per se, keep the conversation of our people capability maturity model in perspective: managed, defined, predictable, optimized, right? How, as an HR business partner, will you do that, right? So if you pick, let's say 15 years back, what were we doing? I don't think many companies had HR business partner as a title. How did it come into being? When we took that journey as HR people and deciding that, okay, enough is enough, we will segregate our HR structure itself basis business expectations, right? And hence we will create shared services, which is the back end of HR services, right? And we will have COEs in the middle, core recruitment teams, core engagement team, specialized learning and development team, highly expert compensation professional in our team, right? And for who are these for? These people cannot front end with all employees, because front ending with employees and the business heads needs a certain skill set, right? If you have seen the HR business partner essentials and the HR business partner model presentation, there, if there are certain clear expectations from an HR business partner, you have to have high business acumen, high digital acumen, solution oriented, right? You need to know the business language, EBITDA, top line, bottom line, corporate tax. How do you, what is GST? How do you go about it? If you can start consulting your business accordingly, slowly and gradually you move from a very transactional personnel to a little more better HR person, for example. From where to hire, not to hire, which is our competition, whom we are losing people to, right? What is the latest learning model that has come in the market? What is the market today in terms of compensation benchmarking, for example? Those are inputs the business is expecting from you. If we can do that, you will move into 2.0, which is providing strategic inputs for businesses to take the right business decisions, right? And all the decisions are not random, they are not hearsay or intuitive, they are all informed decision. Why? Because you have already provided data, you have provided trends, you are saying these are the insights. Basis a very scientific approach, you will become a partner on the table for the business head to say, okay, let me hear out the HR person, and not just give him or her transactional jobs of get the form filled, get people on the onboarding. Those are very hygiene, they will happen. How do you ensure you become strategic is the 2.0 movement, where if you see on the rightmost bar, that's where from result focus from solution focused, you are actually becoming result focused. Now, what is the difference between solution and result? Solution focused is when there is a problem, you have to find a solution, right? Result focused is you define, you demand, you set a target for yourself without knowing the issues that may come in between, and then successfully navigating through a roadmap and your strategic and executional capability to reach that result in the most optimum way in which the time frame has been set by you, right? That's the clear difference. Problems exist, you react to them, find a solution. You set goals and try to reach them to the best of your ability through scientific and data-based decision making, right? And hence, as I was saying, the core of HR business partnering is consultation. The left-hand side triangle was or is largely the traditional way of looking at things. Most of the time of an HR person is spent on administrative and compliance jobs, right? Which is now moving into a diamond shape where most of the time has to go into planning and consultation, and minimum of our time has to get involved in administration and procedures or compliances, so to say. Labor laws, for example. Strategy is something that you have to leave at some point in time to the business, right? Because ultimately it's a business decision. So you'll spend optimum time, effort, energy in strategy, but large part of your job will revolve around providing expert opinion and expert consultation to the business of if you do this, these are the pros, these are the cons, right? And how will that come if you have done your homework appropriately, right? It cannot come just by saying we did 100 tasks and this is how it is. No, you need to know your job, you need to know your business language and business imperatives, you need to know the industry, how is it shaping, where is it moving, where is it going, right? What are the future skill sets that will be required, and then come back and share your study or share your research and say, hence I suggest, and I consult that if you do XYZ, probably your degree of success may be a little higher. The probability is much more because this is the most scientific way of looking at things. And that's where also where your credibility and trust will go up. These are the four pillars of the HRBP roadmap technically, where, as I said, if you know your industry well, if you can cater to your leadership and your business line well, through your functional expertise and verticalized way of creating opportunities in the people process, which can help take the business head take informed business decisions, that will help. But an element that a lot of people miss out is that all these will have very limited output if your past, current, and future relationships are not based on the three pillars of empathy, credibility, and trust. Right? Empathy, because you have to understand what the other person is trying to say. Credibility, because over a period of time you have to be right most of the time, and that's how credibility grows. Right? Trust is because there are n number of times that the business head or any CX or even your people manager will come to you and share things with you, which should be as a friend, as an advisor, and seek suggestions and advice from you. So are you that person? You need to decide how to go about it, which only comes by having strong and long-term relationships with people, right? So that's pretty much about it from this presentation point of view. Thank you so much for watching, and see you around.